Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. I believe that your body does want to and is fully capable of rebuilding and healing itself regardless of what chronic disease you may have. And I'm here for you to answer your questions and bring you innovative and cutting-edge technology and health solutions to empower you and your ability to reach your optimal state of health. Today, my guest is back, and we will be talking about how hydrogen water and other waters are imperative for optimal health. I know that you really need that strong physical foundation to work on your mental and spiritual growth, whether it's overcoming anxiety and depression, which everyone's suffering from right now, losing weight, or detoxing your body in the proper way, which is essential right now in 2021, and even increasing your level of frequency in life. You need that strong physical foundation of health in order to gain the willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find me and my health articles, my cutting-edge natural supplements, devices, and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. I dive into an array of health conditions, their causes and symptoms, and how to address them naturally. And I have spent thousands of dollars and hours of my time biohacking different supplements, technologies, and diets that don't work so that you don't have to. And if you have any health issues you need help with, you can email me directly through the website. I personally read every one. Accelerated Health Products is the sponsor of this show. So as you support my website, I'm able to bring you more cutting edge content and guests to this show. Today, we're going to be diving into the importance of minerals and water and how some small tweaks to your physical health can lead to living in a higher state of vibration or frequency as a result. So first, I wanted to talk about my monthly free group coaching that comes with the Accelerated Ascent Diet Cleanse. It is the most comprehensive cleanse that I have, and the groups that go through this are reporting not just fat loss, but easy fat loss for those last few stubborn pounds that won't go away, detoxification from radiation and heavy metals, and here we are in 2021 under a huge amount of threat that has surpassed the amount of radiation and heavy metals that we have ever been exposed to. I cannot stress this enough. And this cleanse addresses that. You will see an increase in sustained physical energy, mental focus, better bowel movements. We all know that we need to poop to get the toxins out. You get a decreased appetite and ability to intermittent fast, clearer skin, whiter eyes, better sleep. Who doesn't need better sleep? Less moodiness. So all the people in your family will definitely appreciate you going through this cleanse. And something called improved cellular permeability. And that is the health and integrity of your cells so that toxins can actually get out of the cells and the nutrients can get into the cells. At the end of the month, you successfully and easily flush gallstones out of the body safely, and you learn how to heal your body naturally. So it's not just a 30-day quick fix cleanse or diet. It is a lifelong journey that you are going to take away some really key tips on how to take the power back over your health in a time where we are instilled with fear and that power seems to be slipping away. And in the end, most of you will be able to get off your medications, of course, with the guidance of your doctors, but it is possible to do. The difference between me and any other group coaching is I provide the most cutting-edge frequency enhanced supplements that work synergistically with each other, and your body doesn't experience those flu-like symptoms. So you actually feel great day one. There's no hangry feeling. There's no lethargy in the first few days. There's no, I want to hit the wall or hit whoever is in front of me because I'm so hungry and just have a headache and I'm not sleeping. None of that happens. Leave a comment below if you're interested, or check it out on the website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Now to the good stuff. Robert Slovak is back, and he's a degreed aeronautical and astronautical engineer, best known for co-founding water factory systems in the early 1970s. He and his brother were among the early developers of reverse osmosis technology. After officially retiring from the U.S. water industry in 1996, he went on to globally share his decades of knowledge and experience, which I cannot tell you, his experience and his knowledge is endless. I truly put him on my right hand as one of the top 5 most brilliant people I have ever come across. So I'm super excited to have him back. Welcome, Robert. How are you?
Very good, Sara. Nice to spend another session with you on a new topic. That's probably the most changing of all the subjects I discuss, and that's hydrogen.
Yes, and I take this supplement every single day, and sometime in this hour, I need to ask you if I can be overdosing on it, because that might be my problem. But first, let's talk about what hydrogen is and what the benefits are. I mean, we went through the periodic table last time, which I thought was super interesting, and it took me back to chemistry class in high school. So what are the benefits of hydrogen? Why is it so different?
I mean, first, hydrogen, which is the first atom made in the universe and is the lightest, the smallest, and the first one in that periodic table, and the simplest, and it's just one proton with an electron circling it. An oversimplification, but we're going to stick with that. And we won't talk about that. There's 2 other forms of hydrogen that are closely related. We're just going to talk about regular hydrogen, which is the simple proton and electron. And that's the atom. But today, what is stealing the headlines is not just an atom of hydrogen, but a molecule of hydrogen. So what's a molecule of hydrogen? It's 2 hydrogens stuck together, H2. And when they stick together, they make the gas hydrogen, which is, people put hydrogen in balloons, and you can buy hydrogen in a tank. It's used in scientific investigation all the time. And it's like, perhaps I think 60 to 64% of the atoms in our body are hydrogen atoms. Okay? So, something you hardly ever think about. You're really more than 50% of this stuff. Right. And what's interesting is that when life started on Earth, and first life were microorganisms called prokaryotes, they were in an atmosphere around Earth that was primarily hydrogen. So they breathed and lived on hydrogen instead of oxygen. And later on, as different species developed and photosynthesis evolved, photosynthesis, of course, brought oxygen to the planet Earth. And then the prokaryotes eventually evolved into eukaryotes, and those eukaryotes not only used oxygen as their primary gas, but they also had something that was very novel in evolution, and that is called mitochondria. And that is when we really started to advance the design of metabolism. It wasn't simple anymore. Now we had mitochondria, we had ATP, and we were on the road to making all the other species of life beyond the microorganisms.
Okay, so I talk a lot about mitochondria and ATP production because that's true cellular energy, right? And we always want to increase our ATP production in the body. So how does the hydrogen affect us now? I mean, I know it's one of the most powerful antioxidants.
First, hydrogen was ignored through most of modern history as having any biological benefit other than its historical value in evolution. The amount of hydrogen in our atmosphere is 0.00005%, which is close to nothing. So it's not very available. It's, of course, very available because it makes up the water molecule, H2O. That's its big claim to fame. And why we're so much hydrogen, because we're so much water. And I think I may have said this the last time, and this is fairly shocking information that, if we separate or categorize the molecules in the body, like you have water molecules, you have fat molecules, you have carb molecules, right on down the line, 98.8% of the molecules that make up the body are water. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, that's like crazy. That you're just really a sack of water, 98.8. It's unthinkable. And of course, that's where there's a lot of hydrogen. And that water plays a big role, of course, in the mitochondria, and especially in the process of making ATP. So now, when you take molecular hydrogen, now it wasn't really even recognized as a medical, let's say, a gas, until the Japanese discovered it and what it could do in the late 1980s at Nagoya University. And this was a shock to everybody, that it appeared to be this phantasmagorical antioxidant-like molecule that everybody missed for the last 500 years of chemistry. Like, how did everybody miss this? And not only is it an antioxidant added to all the other antioxidants that you're very familiar with, right? Vitamin C, glutathione, blah, blah, blah. But it's so unique that it only goes after and neutralizes the most dangerous of free radicals. And of course, we all have been living the last 50 years under the free radical theory of aging, which isn't obsolete, but it's being upgraded by the mitochondrial theory of aging, because it's a little more complicated. And the free radical theory, it says that the free radicals are damaging our body continuously, and our body makes, and our foods have antioxidants in it, but nothing compares with molecular hydrogen. Why is that? One, it only goes after that most dangerous and most prevalent free radical in the body, or some people call them reactive oxygen species, and that's called the hydroxyl radical. Okay? People should really get used to even knowing that word, hydroxyl radical. And not to be, its symbol is OH. and not, but not to be confused with OH minus, which is the hydroxide ion that's in, everything to balance alkalinity, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of chemistry in the body that looks the same but isn't. But the OH neutral hydroxyl radical causes more damage to every single organelle, including mitochondria, than anything else by, I don't know, maybe a factor of 10 to 100.
Okay, can I stop you real quick? So what is causing the hydroxyl? What is causing that damage? I mean, is there one specific
It's
mechanism?
the price you pay for our design. And we oxidize things to make our energy, just like putting wood on the fire. Okay, you want that fire to keep roaring and keep everybody warm, you got to keep the wood going. And the wood is being oxidized by oxygen in the air, correct? If there's no oxygen in the air, the fire goes out. So that's happening in your mitochondria. And that is what creates the heat, which we call ATP. So the price to pay is that when you burn wood, you produce these byproducts, right? You produce carbon dioxide, you produce, and you produce water, but it's damaging to other things in the body. So that is the consequence of our design.
So essentially, this is anti-aging, not necessarily reverse aging, but just eating up those free radicals that are causing the aging process.
And you have a lot of mechanisms. The most elegant happens to be the molecular hydrogen, because compared to the other antioxidants, let's just take a couple of them that you're very familiar with. Glutathione, okay? You're familiar with superoxide dismutase, SOD. These and all the phytochemicals, vitamin C, vitamin A, these all can act as antioxidants. But the process of those antioxidants in neutralizing the free radicals is a pretty messy chemistry. In other words, when you neutralize a free radical with vitamin C, you go through all these stages. You make more antioxidants, you make more oxidants. It goes through a lot of stuff to get back to the design of the body. Molecular hydrogen has one step. Molecular hydrogen plus free radical equals, get this, water.
That's what I was going to ask.
Is that elegant or is that elegant?
So is that essentially hydrating your body as well as it's going in? The H2 is connecting with the oxygen.
It's a great question that I really can't with numbers. It is. I mean, all water is recycled in the body, of course. But if you ask me, what's the percentage of that from free radicals? It's probably substantial. Okay. But there's a lot of processes that do make, like the production of ATP produces water that is recycled in the body too. So I don't know exactly what percentage it is, but it's making more water. But the other antioxidants are creating all kinds of other chemistries.
Okay, so right now in 2021, and I have to be very careful with how I word what we're going to be talking about because of censorship. So please bear with me. But in my protocols to detox from radiation and heavy metals that we're bombarded with every single human on earth at this point.
Correct.
We talk a lot about the acceleradine iodine that is really good for detoxing from radiation and heavy metals. We also talk about glutathione and SOD. So where does hydrogen water come in as it relates to heavy metal detox and radiation detox?
Well, it's at the top of the food chain in this sense. Not only does it go after the serial killer of free radicals called the hydroxyl radical, but it also regulates the production, the accessibility of the entire major antioxidants like glutathione, superoxide dismutase, virtually the whole palette of the major antioxidants are actually aided and abetted by molecular hydrogen. I mean, this was like, this was an oh my God moment. Not only does it do without any negative consequence the reduction of free radicals, but it also helps the other antioxidants too. Yes. And then you could go on for about 30 other major things that have been discovered that this simple molecule is capable of doing that everyone overlooked for 500 years.
Okay, so we don't have time to go over all 30, but what are the most enlightening or wow things that you have seen hydrogen water do?
The grand statement, and like you, we have to be careful when we talk about grand statements, but it is the most effective and elegant controller of oxidative stress. Okay? And oxidative stress can be translated in many forms depending upon where it's occurring, whether it could be occurring in the mitochondria, it could be occurring in the general tissue, et cetera, in the extracellular fluid. But it also has an analog definition that starts with an I, and you know what that definition is. We refrain from using that I, but it is the master controller of I, and we're at least enabled to use the word oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is, I mean, it's the reason we have chronic disease. That's it.
Right.
So this, in all the ways that oxidative stress is addressed, including all of the signaling pathways, and we don't want to get to graduate school level, but when you talk about cytokines, when you talk about NRF2, when you talk about all these other mechanisms in the body, molecular hydrogen assists them all in achieving perfection for the body and homeostasis.
Well, I love
and
drinking.
I didn't, the irony of this, when I first made I happen to have this here because I just found it. I don't even know if you know that I made the first bottle of molecular hydrogen tablets in 2010. I don't think you even heard of that, have you?
Nope.
Okay, so in 2010, I was seeking another way of antioxidizing things. And we know that antioxidizing involves the addition of electrons, okay, to whatever needs to be neutralized. A free radical is searching for electrons. And in that search, it damages the cell mechanisms. and the organelles. So the body has these antioxidants to give those electrons before it can damage something important. Superoxide dismutase is a big one. Glutathione is a big one, et cetera, et cetera. Hydrogen is becoming the big one. So I did not really realize that in 2010, as I was creating this product, I did not realize that it was the molecular hydrogen, H2. I thought it was just the fact we were generating electrons. It was a mistake. I promoted the wrong science. And this product here is called active H minus. So I was using the electron from the H minus that was created briefly in this reaction that another colleague and I worked on to perfect. And I just ran across this first bottle. This is like the first batch ever made 11 years ago.
Wow.
And it still works. Now we've learned the product is now called Active H2 for the molecular hydrogen to correct that. And we did this I think by 2013, the Japanese and people like Tyler LeBaron came forward and go, Robert, let me fix this for you, okay? So these guys did great work in clarifying the science. So tablets, I think your audience should know the various means that people can access molecular hydrogen. We've only talked about tablets. I mean, or I mentioned tablets, that's all. But there's a lot more. You know, people can inhale hydrogen. Okay. And it's a big business right now, is hydrogen generators, which look like a little, I don't know, a humidifier or something like that. And you put water in them and it electrolyzes the water and funnels the hydrogen gas that's produced, and you breathe it through a cannula. Okay? And you breathe it for hours. It's quite having a different approach in the body than the tablet, than consuming water that's been infused with hydrogen from a tablet. So when you have to do it much longer than just drinking a glass of this, but it is superior for certain things like brain trauma. Okay? Because hydrogen, when you were saying, well, what's so great about hydrogen? What are some of the other things? Probably the biggest thing about hydrogen is the fact that it's the smallest molecule in the universe. So it goes everywhere.
Right.
Chemistry has a problem getting to everybody knows the blood-brain barrier. A lot of stuff doesn't get in the brain that you might like. And of course, you're also protected by it. But hydrogen goes everywhere. You know, I have a glass. Hydrogen goes right through the glass.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, it won't go immediately through it. It'll take maybe 20, 30 minutes to go through the glass. And there's only one thing that can hold hydrogen once you make it and you infuse water with it. And it's the good old aluminum can. Only aluminum can retain hydrogen.
But we don't want to be drinking out of aluminum.
No. And you're right. I knew we would get down this path when people talk about plastic bottles, aluminum, but I'm not, when you make aluminum, it immediately oxidizes with a surface that doesn't allow the aluminum ions to be accessible. And are you following me?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
you know, if you have aluminum, like on your porch or something like this, it's anodized. And so they oxidize the surface and, you know, it stays in the weather. It always looks good. That's because you've oxidized the surface and it's almost as impervious as diamond. So the same thing happens in the can. So you really don't get aluminum when you drink out of a can. Plus, and I'm giving you too much information. In the United States, you must also use an FDA approved coating, okay, that protects the can even further, because some of the sodas, like, you know, Pepsi and Coke, use phosphoric acid, and maybe that will elicit some aluminum. So anyway, not to get too complicated, but aluminum's the only thing you can keep hydrogen in. What I don't recommend is that companies early on, most of them were Asian companies, made hydrogen infused water in a pouch, in a flexible pouch. Like maybe one, I'm trying to think of what else comes in a pouch, but I don't know, kimchi or something, okay? It's a pouch, and the pouch material has aluminum in the material. And it's just not good enough. So I do not recommend pre-made infused hydrogen, water infused with hydrogen in these pouches. You may just be drinking it and it doesn't have any aluminum, and it's hard to keep the aluminum, or hard to keep the hydrogen in. So the safest thing really is the tablet, or to breathe it.
Okay. So Robert, we're going to take a short commercial break and come back and talk about the tablets and how you recommend taking them, and too much, too little. So we'll be right back with Robert Slovak.
Got it.
Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta, the owner of Accelerated Health Products. And today we have Robert Slovak talking all things hydrogen. Robert, so I have these awesome tablets from you, and I love drinking them all day long.
So let's bring you down to earth. Let's bring you down to earth. But I do want to say, I love your ad. My kudos to the person who put that together.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So anyway, the tablets are really should be taken in response to oxidative stress. And also the tablets can be used even by soaking in water that has the tablets in them. So there's a number of ways this can be used. So I happen to have a tablet, and I'm just going to show you. I'm using this little device that happens to also, and I just think we should mention it because it's the reality for your guests. And this little device, which has a little cap on it, it's not perfect, but it makes Well, I think it's run out of its juice. But this little device actually has a battery and so on, and it makes hydrogen in
Oh,
just a few minutes. Now, does
okay.
it make as much as a tablet? No, it doesn't. Maybe 1/4 the amount. And it takes a while. It takes you 10, 15 minutes to do it. But some people like gadgets. So I just want you to know there's probably at least 50 different designs of this type of device.
Very
And
cool.
the last time that we talked, we talked about deuterium depleted water.
Hmm.
And we call this the protium. And we happen to sell this from our light water deuterium depleted just as a kind of a companion product. So I'm using this. I'm just going to show myself putting in, and you can see that tablet is reacting
Mm.
to make this very abundant amount, about 7 parts per million of hydrogen. This is a lot.
And I have
And
to say real quick, before uncovering your product, your hydrogen tablets, I was using someone else's, and I would watch it just not even dissolve. It wasn't even working, and I thought, well, what's this doing? So
yeah,
just
there
what you
there are
showed is
there are
amazing.
there are there's some bad actors out there in the hydrogen business. Okay. Some people have no hydrogen at all in the tablet. Some don't even react. Um, this is kind of the gold standard tablet. And there are ways also. So you can see it's got so many hydrogen microbubbles in it. Now, the tablet, I can see the tablet in here, and it's not dissolved yet. When it does dissolve, and I can see that it's dissolved, you should drink it within the next 5 to 10 minutes. That
So how long does it
is
last?
critical.
Because
Well,
I put it
let's
in my
say let's say in 30 minutes, this will be down to 20% of what it is right now.
okay.
Okay? So you're
Hmm.
going to have something, but you're then, by waiting, you're going to lose your investment, so to speak.
Okay.
You're going to lose that 7 ppm of hydrogen. This is when it's premier. So that's very important. Now, for those of you who may be a little more scientific, there is a product called H2 Blue. These are drops with a methylene blue indicator that you
Mm.
can take a little sample of this, put it in this little test tube, and put drops of this in, and it will tell you what the strength is. Okay?
So
Now,
what is methylene blue?
well, methylene, oh boy, now you've really opened a can of worms, but methylene blue chemically has been used for 100 years as an indicator. It's the bluest blue you've ever seen, and it will turn your white porcelain sink blue indefinitely. So you have to be very careful when using methylene blue. So it's used like when you want to measure the pH of something.
Hmm.
Methylene blue is one of the indicators for various chemical reactions.
I just am asking because I know people that actually put it in their water for consumption for health benefits.
Yes, no, it's used by IV. It's used as methylene blue has emerged as an antiviral, antimicrobial. It's a
Mm.
very powerful substance and electron transporter in the body, and it's emerging. We're going to see more and more about methylene blue,
Okay.
but this is just the indicator. Okay, this is only to measure hydrogen.
So that brings up the question of someone like me who likes to put a whole bunch of stuff in my drink to get the most benefit. We talked about ketone last time, and I do know that the 0.9 you're supposed to take straight, not put in your water, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
But
but
I
the
would say
3.3,
it's more protecting the hydrogen than the ketone, that the hydrogen should be put in pure water, relatively pure water. I mean, any bottled water would be fine. And consumed without any other additive to get the maximum benefit. Because the chemistry of this there's a lot to it. And some people think like the hydrogen's coming from the tablet, and the hydrogen is only being extracted from the water by the tablet. All that hydrogen is from the water itself.
okay.
So things that change the chemistry, like an additive, if you were to put, orange juice with it or something like this, it wouldn't stop the production, but you're going to change how much hydrogen that tablet is capable of delivering. So
that makes sense.
If you're really using hydrogen as seriously as it is capable of being used, then do it the right way without any additive, pure water. You can use, with one tablet, you can use 10 to 14 ounces of water and just put it in and drink it within the first 10 minutes. That's the best way. For somebody who is not therapeutically suffering from known oxidative stressful things, and the list is a long one, and other chronic diseases, I would say 2 tablets per day would be a maintenance dose. And could you take, for certain conditions, for short periods of time, maybe up to a week, you could take 5 tablets a day. There's nothing in the tablet that would be contraindicative, except the fact that each tablet also delivers 80 milligrams of magnesium in a very good form. So that adds to your, let's say, the RDA for magnesium is roughly 400 milligrams, maybe 380 for women, something like this. So, you don't want to, you want to make sure you're not taking a lot of magnesium, as many people do, and then you're adding each tablet another 80. Okay? So take that 80 milligrams into consideration when you're taking your molecular hydrogen.
Okay, so 2 quick questions. We're coming close to the end of the hour, but number 1 is, you talk about not taking it too close to bedtime, but then the second question is, you've got the Active H2 Chromax, which has the chromium in it as well, which is really good for blood glucose control, and I take that. What is the most optimal time in taking that? Is it with your biggest meal? Is it with your carbohydrate meal? Can you take it anytime?
Away from the meal.
Away from the meal. Okay.
Yes. And this comes in, as you know, in a blister pack. So if you were going to take this product, each tablet contains the maximum and optimal dose of chromium used as a glucose control and a metabolic syndrome, let's say a metabolic syndrome assistant. I would take 1 Chromax a day, meaning one of the Active H2 Chromax. That's the ideal and maximum dose of chromium per day. If I wanted more hydrogen, I do not take another one of those. I take another basic tablet of hydrogen. So I
Okay.
personally take 1 to 2 of these a day, meaning the regular tablets, and 1 Chromax per day. Or
Okay.
that's what
And
I
then,
do.
and why not close to bedtime?
Energizing.
Which is not a bad problem to have.
No, it's not
Right?
a bad problem, but everyone reacts differently.
Right.
And there's kind of, there's some thing like the magnesium might help you relax, okay?
Yeah.
But the hydrogen can activate you too. I mean, that's why athletes revere active H2 uh, water infused hydrogen with hydrogen.
Well, this is a product I got to tell you. So I have mentioned before, I've got a very skeptical husband who always wants to, poo-poo everything that I bring into the house. And when I brought these tablets in, he goes, "Oh God, what now?" There's something about the taste. There's something about the taste of this hydrogen water. It is so hydrating and it tastes so good. And I love it. I can't wait to drink it, Robert. And I've had others in the past that I have not had the same response for. So thank you so much. Where can people find you? These products are at acceleratedhealthproducts.com for those of you who are familiar with my website. But Robert, where can they find you?
They can find me at Water and Wellness, spelled out, and they can email me at ROBTSLOVAK at waterandwellness.com. And Water and Wellness sells these products as well. But I wanted to read a hydrogen testimonial that is the most unusual I've ever gotten.
Okay.
And it was one day, probably 5 or more years ago. I was asked to join a dinner party on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. And I didn't know most of the people. And they sat me next to a doctor from New York. He's an emergency room doctor, well known, etc. And they thought, well, Robert knows some health science and but the doctor, and none of us know that, so let them have their own conversation, which we did. And the guy goes, "What do you do?" And I told him, "Well, right now I'm actually perfecting a product called molecular hydrogen." He goes, "What the heck is that?" Blah blah blah. So I told him the story, and he told me what he does in the emergency room in a famous New York hospital. And I said, "Well, here, let me go to my car when we leave, and I'll just give you a bottle. Have fun with it, And I never really had any idea if he ever bought it. I just never followed up. I didn't think he'd be interested as an MD. But he wrote me this letter during the time of COVID. "Robert, I am sold on the Active H2 Ultra tablets as the best antioxidant in existence. Since you introduced this to me 7 years ago, I have been on it twice a day ever since. I'm living proof of its protective effects. I'm used to working with in the ER, much of the time exhausted, but not anymore. Even more amazing is that I have never been sick or succumbed to the flu or any of the typical ER illnesses. I'm ordering a couple of cases because I now want to boost the immune system of my nurses and coworkers. Dr. Joe is 81 years old."
Oh, congrats. That's amazing. What a
Really
way to end the show, Robert. Thank you so much. We are
cool.
going to have you back and talk about some of the things that we didn't get to, which you and I both know that we want to get to eventually. But thank you for joining us. And thank you,
You're
everyone
welcome,
else,
Sara.
for joining us today. And the show, for those of you who have been listening on Wednesdays, the show has been moved to Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. You can always find them recorded on over 100 podcast platforms. all the ones that you've subscribed to, including iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora. And I also do Accelerated Health Bites, where I do short informational videos. If you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few of your friends who may need my help. As you share my channel, it helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests to the show. You can use coupon W4HC20 at acceleratedhealthproducts.com for 20% off site-wide. Thanks for joining us, and join us next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.